We spent 3 happy days while his parents were away, going around the shops, visiting bars in town, nothing too close, and watching television until late, then walking home. If we bought some clothes, he always wanted me to show him when we got home. I didn't mind because I wouldn't use the changing rooms, and having Neil there meant he could do the talking. We bought mainly undergarments, but one skirt, the shortest Neil could find, a fresh nightgown, a pair of trousers, and very high stilettos, again to please Neil. Money was no object. Father seemed keen to be generous, so I took it and enjoyed it. The romantic side developed as well as the wardrobe. On the day we bought the mini skirt and the stilettos, I promised to wear them that evening. He dropped me at home to get ready. I found his camisole and undergarments, and with stockings expected to please him. We went to a bar, then a club. We danced a little, but the shoes were a bit too much. We ended up back at his house, watching late TV and entwining our bodies, when he started to undress me, the blouse first, then the skirt. Not to be outdone, I insisted he do the same, and then we really got excited. It was apparent he was enjoying himself, and I still am not sure why, but in the excitement, I knelt before him and undid his trousers. It didn't take long for him to be satisfied and then sink to the floor. As we lay on the floor together, I had a definite sense of crossing one of those lines. I just wondered how he could satisfy my own aching desires in me. I also had a few public outings in this period. I had grown comfortable walking to Neil's. I had met Mrs. Price, but everything else was in secret. One day, I added another person to that list, Neil's mother. She came home unexpectedly and found me drinking a coffee in her kitchen. After a careful look, more an examination, she asked my name. I said, Lauren. Neil came to my defense and explained who I was. Then she sat down and wanted to know about Mother and me, about how I coped, and how pleased she was Neil could still see me as a friend. This did make it possible for me not to be secretive with Neil's parents. His father seemed skeptical about me. I got braver about being out, though I never went out to be seen. There were times when I passed people I knew, had a worried moment, then a flush of calm as they went past. And so, the holiday continued, some trips out, time spent with Neil or at Jill's, but mostly it was my studies that benefited. My room was a most comfortable place. Mid-January, I had a final fling before going back to uni. I went for a day in town with Jill and Mother, then in the evening, I wore a tight skirt and short top to excite Neil, and we had a night in a club, dancing and being affectionate. It all ended too soon, and in the morning, I had to get ready to return to being a guy. The nails came off, the enhancements removed, I found the jeans and jumper, and was thinking of going to a barber but decided the hair was far too good to lose. So, I put it in a ponytail and hoped nobody would make a big thing about it. Then, with my bags packed, I was ready to travel. It just felt so strange to be dressed that way after so many weeks in a skirt. One big plus to returning to my course was that the terms unit was on costume and design. Needless to say, I was far more interested now than I was at the beginning of the course and took great interest in the making as well as the great variety of styles. The end unit assessment being to select styles suitable for 3 different plays, a pantomime, a period play, and a futuristic theme. All were fun to do, and I enjoyed it immensely. Such a pity it was only a small part of the work. In the final year, I can spend more time on it, I was told. I hoped they were right. Easter holidays. The Easter holidays had a surprise, as all my returns seemed to have. This time, after Father had picked me up at the station and I had changed, he locked my bag in the boot and dropped the surprise. Mother had been tidying my room and found some male clothes. This had led to difficult times, so he had been in and cleared the room, leaving only Lauren's clothes. How could I sneak out and meet anyone but Neil? I felt trapped and asked if I could hide some clothes in the shed. He said he didn't want to run the risk of Mother finding out, and besides, after the last holiday, I would have no problems going anywhere as Lauren. Once home, I quickly retreated to my room to find it exactly as I was told. Every trace of Lauren's had been removed. The next morning, I rang Jill for her advice. She was surprised at their actions, but suggested I take advantage and ask for a clothes allowance, a hair appointment, and the use of a car. Then take some lessons in deportment and voice coaching. Show them they are not overpowering you, but meeting the challenge. I made a lame attempt to say I hoped Mother would soon have me back as a son, but I was sad in a very nice nightie at the time, and I did not really convince myself. I asked Mother if I could use the car. To my surprise, she agreed. Then I asked if I should have my hair trimmed, and she rang the salon to make an appointment for that afternoon. I almost knew that if I asked for an allowance, Father would say yes. So, I went for my appointment and enjoyed the pampering of a salon. Then once home, I filed my nails, which had now grown to a length that was unusual for a guy. I had already sugared my limbs and glued the enhancements onto my chest. I was now ready for the finishing touches, eyebrow plucking and full makeup. And then it was off to see Neil. What took me unawares was how much I relaxed and felt comfortable once I had finished dressing. I left my legs bare and wore a long, soft skirt so I could feel the texture on them. I was feeling quite excited about meeting Neil and resuming our friendship, but it took a while before he grasped the situation, that I was enjoying myself and that due to circumstances beyond my control, I was not able to go out as Lawrence during this break. Full of enthusiasm, I suggested we go out and visit places, taking risks, but I wanted to see how well I could be accepted. At the back of my mind, I was thinking, if Mother did not improve, could I live like this all the time? And lurking deeper in my mind was the thought that even if Mother did want a son back, would I be happy to give that son back to her? We sat around and suggested places to go and things to do. Neil's ideas got dafter as we continued. By the end, we had several easy ones, like going for a walk at different locations, such as parks, shops, etc. There were a few evening places, see a film, watch sport, obviously. We could go to pubs as we already had, but how about a country pub or a bar meal, somewhere we never thought of going before? The daftest was going swimming. I just felt the costume would be too revealing. The most daring was to visit the local pub and meet our friends. Neil had said nothing up to now, and maybe he could feel the temperature before I went in. But one we both fancied and were keen to do was to go away for a weekend. I put the idea to Father as a learning exercise. It would help me get used to being Lauren away from home, which would make it easier to move about if I had to dress as a girl all the time. Father seemed surprisingly enthusiastic about the last comment. Not only did he offer to pay for an Easter break holiday, but he also made a booking. He asked if I would go to see the doctor who had seen Mother before. He had been to see her since, and had said he saw no change in her and had asked how I was coping. 2 days later, Father drove me to his surgery. I was dressed as Lauren, but there was no choice really. The doctor saw us both and then asked Father to leave. He took some blood, asked questions about how I felt I was coping, and seemed pleased with my appearance. He was most interested in Neil. He had a challenge to set me. If I wanted to take the role further, then I would have to go completely public and face the possible problems it may create. On the other hand, he could suggest various people who could help teach me to act femininely. As a drama student, I thought I was doing quite well, but a second opinion would not do any harm. He asked me to come back in a week to discuss the blood results and possible feedback from the specialists. The specialists were interesting. The voice coach was impressed with how I controlled my speech with only a little advice. A woman I went to see about deportment was something of a perfectionist, but my time with her, though not fun, was useful. I was shown how to walk, stand, sit, along with how to hold my head and where my hands should go. She insisted I come back a week later so she could see how I had improved. The doctor had spoken to several people when I saw him next. Besides those I had seen, who had given positive reports, both saying they thought I could live as a woman if handled properly, the blood test confirmed a low hormone level, and I was asked if I would consider hormone supplements, which would help raise my voice and slow beard growth. The thought of not shaving, even the little I did, was very appealing. I left with a book he thought would be useful, as it explained the biology of what was being proposed. He also advised taking counseling, which he would arrange, and finding out as much as I could before making my final choice. All this fell into the background as the weekend away approached. Neil was possibly as excited as I was. He wanted to know how I would dress and what sort of things we should do. We agreed on a play and a museum. He was studying history, that very conveniently had a fashion and costume section. Come the morning, I took great care to shave all over, secure the enhancements, and tape away the male parts neatly. I carefully styled my hair so it looked like a star on the back of my head, did my makeup, then chose stockings and satin undergarments, a nice new dress which had long sleeves, a round neck, and knee-length hem. It seemed appealing in deep pink with black shoes. I was ready. I packed enough for a week because I couldn't decide what would be best. Neil called, looking smart and showing off the car keys. Somehow, he had persuaded his dad to lend him the Mercedes instead of his mum's Fiesta. And so, the weekend set off well. We drove to York, had lunch, looked around, then found the hotel. Father had booked it through his business, but in Neil's name. It would have been difficult to explain that I was Mr. Allen, or at least his son. The room was lovely, not too cramped, a nice comfy couch, a big bed, and an en-suite. We looked at each other, then the bed. Asked whose idea that was, then Neil pointed out that I was wearing my grandmother's rings on my left third finger. They assume we are married. There was a twinkle in our eyes at that thought, and all evening made comments, addressing each other with married-type words. Mrs. Phillip was Neil's favorite. The theater was good, though Neil's hand on my thigh was an endless distraction. After a late drink, we went to the hotel. I made it to the bathroom and, without thinking, cleaned myself up, put on a nightie, short black, and wandered back into the bedroom. I am slow at times, but it was when Neil called me Lauren Phillip as he invited me to join him in bed that I realized we would sleep together. It started as a cuddle, but once I recognized the situation and was being encouraged in the right way, it was not long before I allowed Neil to be intimate with me. I slept badly as I had not climaxed, so I leaked in my sleep, making my side damp. I resolved next time to satisfy myself before sleeping. The weekend went too quickly. We visited a museum, saw some pictures, went to the theater, and enjoyed many cafes. We also spent a lot of time in bed. We became quite affectionate, morning and night. Even in the day when I found Neil to be excited, we found a quiet place, and I helped him. I also found that Neil could kiss me, and I would feel the same excitement, or I went to the toilet for relief. Clothing choice was not a problem, just choose the bold look, and Neil was happy, though I did go smart to the theater. The weekend was over, and we were driving home too soon. We stopped in a car park for a last moment together before we had to start being careful. The summer term. The summer term was upon me quickly, and another unit of the course to do. But this term, we choose our third-year topic, where we specialize in one aspect of drama. I was hoping not to appear overeager to do costume design, as it is normally a girl's topic, and you spend a lot of time with the textile art groups, another mainly female group. But in a discussion in the tutor group, I said I was undecided, and 3 of the group told me I had to do the costume design. The tutor agreed that I had done well in that unit and seemed to have a flair there. Later in the union, when I had had a drink, I asked Matt and Sarah why they thought I should do costume design. Sarah took my hand, looked at my nails, then at me. Sometimes it is nice to have a man who understands how an outfit can change the look, and you do it with yourself anyway. I replied with a no. She continued, when you started, you were a dull boy. Now your style is quite outlandish, the nails, then there was the long hair a bit ago, and you never wear the usual student clothes. I took my hand away and had a drink. Besides, me and Joe want to do costume design, and we reckon it would be fun working with you. You don't seem to have boundaries. We reckon you would wear anything if the time was right, or suggest a braver idea than the expected. Is that a compliment? I asked. Take it as you like, but please do the costume with us. It will be a fun year. And so, I put my name down for costume design and spent the next week spending my allowance on female-cut trousers, unisex tops which had a more feminine look. If I was seen as eccentric, then I might as well live up to it and dress in an androgynous style to suit myself. Last summer holiday. After the exams and the play we had to produce, the summer was our own. I met Father at Jill's so I could change before going home. Jill did comment on how my trousers had a flat front, then smiled saying it was none of her business and wished me a good holiday. Everything was normal. All traces of Lawrence were being eliminated, photos had gone, clothes all gone, and I even found some little girl's clothes that mother had bought, hoping I would be a girl. The first things I wanted to do at the start was to confirm my female identity, so I booked at the salon for my hair to be done. Claire did the roots and gave it body with a soft perm. Then, with all the feminizing touches such as skirts, enhancements, heels, and makeup, I felt more comfortable in the home. Father and the doctor had sorted out some speech coaching and deportment sessions, which were fun, and though I felt accomplished, I did learn new tricks. The thing was to remember them and apply them. I also got a job delivering leaflets, so I could remain anonymous while out and avoid too many challenging times. I could also wear pumps, shorts, or loose skirts, allowing the summer breeze to caress my legs. Neil got a job in a museum for the summer, which meant we didn't see much of each other. Autumn term. The best thing about the summer was the end when I started my 3rd year. Sarah and Joe found me to let me know the 3 of us were doing costume design and wardrobe, but commented approvingly on my hair. The perm obviously hadn't grown out and asked what I had been doing over the holiday. I could only smile. I wasn't about to tell them I had had a great time as Lauren, but somehow I sensed she guessed part of it. The term was spent designing and making costumes for a pantomime, cat and dog outfits, and ugly sisters, all very traditional, but we had fun with the students who were to be the sisters. My favorite was the wedding dress. Joe bought one from a charity shop and adapted it for quick changes. The material was satin and lace. There was a pang of jealousy as she tried it on, and I remembered some of the dresses I had worn and felt uncomfortable being unable to have the choice of trousers or skirts. Events conspired to change that before the term was over. One afternoon, we were busy drinking coffee in the workshop. I think we were making a cat outfit when the fact that Rocky Horror Show was on in town came up. I had never seen it, but I knew what it was about and the childish antics that go with it, the rice and water throwing, not to mention the dressing up. Sarah rang and got tickets for the following night. Then Joe started to persuade Sarah they should dress as the girls in 50s-style clothes. Sarah was not sure and made uncertain sounds. Joe then turned her attention on me. How about Frankenfurter fishnets and a basque? I was tempted but tried to appear indifferent. No, she agreed. I think you could be less obvious than that. Sarah and I looked questioningly at her, then she explained how much fun it would be if I took a less predictable character in terms of what was expected. Yes, we said. She disappeared into the rows of costumes and came back with a disc skirt on and proceeded to point out how we could put our hair in bunches and look all sweet and innocent. She knew there were 3 outfits like the one she had on. Sarah and I looked at each other first, then at Joe, who was all excited about her idea, telling us what fun it would be to go so outrageously dressed. Then, Sarah turned to me and related a conversation she and Joe had had the week before. They had been discussing why they got on with me and how feminine I was in appearance and manner. Then looked at me very carefully, long permed hair, narrow eyebrows, smooth face, long nails, that nice ring, an heirloom I put in, and where's the lunch pack? It's the way I like to look, I lamely replied, asking what was wrong with that. Nothing, she replied, but if you go with Joe's idea, then I shall also. Joe was now given new enthusiasm and kept on at me, telling me how much fun it would be. Even if I had not wanted to go along with the idea, I'm sure she would have worn me down. Having agreed, she disappeared to find 3 outfits, then started asking about makeup and discussing, rather inappropriately with Sarah, about what I should do. I played it innocent, just suggesting I had picked a lot from the course. We went back to the project in hand eventually, and the subject died away. That is, until the next day. We met after lunch to continue the costume, but Sarah was showing signs of cold feet, and not wishing to miss this opportunity, told her if I'm doing it, then she is, adding, I've shaved my legs for nothing if we renege. Let's see, Joe said. Oh, that's good. Arms as well, yes, oh yes. Joe went to sort out the skirts. She bounced back in a twin set, disc skirt supported with net underskirts, bobby socks, and pumps. Then announced she had the pastel green, which we could see. Sarah would have the pastel blue, and for added effect, there was a nice soft pink for me. I said how lovely, but she was on a mission now to make sure we were ready on time, even though we had all afternoon. I knew I could be ready in half an hour, though I dared not say so. Sarah and I tried to work, while Joe was asking us to let her brush our hair into bunches or plaits, then try on clothes, or go hunting for something amongst the wardrobe. By 6, she had us ready. I had a pre-filled bra, and not the ugly sister giants she found first. I tried to appear manly, but was told to be myself and stop mucking about. So, I let the clothes influence how I behaved. I had no problem with that. I was feeling so comfortable in the skirt with its layered underskirts and satin outer skirt. The bra did not feel right being just foam, but that aside, it was nice to be in a dress again. We had an excellent night. We sneaked out of the college and found ourselves amongst hundreds of other people in the theater. Still on a high, we went for a drink and then had a burger, ending up in Sarah's room and falling asleep on her floor.